blood debt to collect. Interwoven in clouds and pestilence, the bleeding crow will persist, becomes the veins of humanity no mortal may resist. Every breath it mocks you. Change your body in fears. Bow down to bloodied feathers. The curse commands your years. Bleed to death in servitude. It came to be in the storm of the century. A once sprawling community of hillside cottages and rolling fields now resembled the horror of no man's land. Lightning caressed the earth in bolts of unspoken, visceral beauty. The sky was painted a deep, violent purple, as lightning bolts continuously framed the looming clouds and their downpour. A wrath never before witnessed by the likes of humanity. Each droplet of rain like a natural bullet, tearing through the ferocity of its parent cloud and speeding towards its ending on the ground. Each drop was like a pebble of lead, destroying structures to their very foundations. People fell victim to the thrashing winds and unrestrained vengeance of the gods. Families braced in each other's fearful arms, praying they may see their kindred sunlight once more. And the crow, behold the misery in avian form. What torturous plague now grips our lands from that night's lonely origin. It flew perilously, darting between every drop of rain and thunderous reverberation of the air, seeking any form of dilapidated shelter it may stumble upon. Yet, through the thickness of the storm, the desperate crow saw its shimmering, wooded chance. A distant, seemingly untouched forest. The perfect safety from the severity of the current outdoors. The crow then flew with such vigour and persistence, its goal now fully within reach. As it flew, the storm grew progressively worse. Claps of thunder became a rolling, mocking applause as the crow flew, now darting between increasingly violent lightning strikes, coming closer and closer to eviscerating itself. The rain fell with such force it pummeled the ground into shapeless craters as the crow entered the forest, leaving behind it a once thriving community, more akin to a smouldering pile of ash. Eyes scanning every branch, the crow quickly surveyed the scene. This forest was pristine, untouched by the horror show surrounding its outer limits. It's a question that storytellers argue to this day, as to whether the crow could have known what was to befall it next. Some argue it was obviously suspicious, that no forest could have avoided so much catastrophe when its surroundings were turned to rubble. That the forest could have easily been host to rebels to the heathen faith, tempting the gods' wrath. No matter the cause, the outcome remains the same. Almost exhausted in its search, the crow found a stable branch on the tallest tree in the forest. Shielded by the leaves, it was finally able to take a moment of rest. A moment free of the newfound fear instilled in its beating heart. A heart that would beat for only a mere moment more. For the clouds groaned, the wind spiked, the smell of damp exchanged for burn. The mighty crack of Thor's anger struck the tree in a blinding show of fire and ferocity. The lightning bolt detonated the tree, turning it into a towering shrapnel mine, flinging burning splinters of cremated bark in every direction, igniting the exposed forest around it into a blazing graveyard for a crow that never knew what happened to itself. Vaporized on impact, the crow met the gruesome end shared by the tree it sadly chose to find rest upon, without a second to bleed its tragic goodbye to an earth that birthed it into creation. A death mourned by no one more than Thor himself. Unwittingly had he ended the life of the innocent creature and directed his immortal anger even closer to the humanity he so benevolently strived to love. Straying so far from the warrior's path, Thor sought to bring upon the earth a storm so great and fearful he may harden the resolve of the young, untapped warrior minds of humanity. His determination turned to fury as he brought to humanity a fearful curse, birthed through the fires of his guilt to punish all that refused their destined warrior paths. First struck by a bolt of a deep purple hue, not meant to kill, but to warn. Then bleed until you rot, in payment of a withered potential. Paid in sacrifice and tribute to the icon of Thor's regret, the bleeding crow. Only ever to be overcome by proving to Thor himself that your true potential as a warrior has been unquestionably fulfilled. The story has been told many times, with many variations, but all culminate with the bleeding crow. Some claim to have known people afflicted with the curse, victims brought to their knees as their blood seeps slowly from their bodies, dripping like a tap, drop after drop after drop. A never-ending procession of peril as it drips from every pore, wrung dry of their final days until their inevitable collapse takes them to their lonely demise. Today, the curse persists. The lightning strikes and the clock counts down, commanding every moment of every year of the victim's stolen life. Struck by the unending might of Thor's resolve to find the true and undisputed champions of our mortal realm, sending all who fail on the dreaded march to Helheim. Perilous it flew against the danger, caught in a cacophony of raging fires and screams, sought out shelter to weather the storm, then stolen from the serenity of its streams. Thor saw our weakness through its sacrifice. His fury grew, and his answer was clear, cursing all who abandon their destiny, to bleed their apology year by year. Die alone in servitude.